Now let's talk about a significant but underreported development in Africa. After 23 years, America has restored ties with the Sudan. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo even visited Khartoum. America's intentions are clear and its task is cut out. The US must remove Sudan from the list of states that sponsor terrorism. Yes, Sudan was once a launch pad for terror groups like the Al-Qaeda, but it's a different state now. Dictator Omar al-Bashir was ousted last year. This country is on its way to becoming a democracy. In exchange, the US wants compensation for victims of Al-Qaeda attacks. Can this derail America's plan to get an ally in the fragile Arab world? Here's a report.
9/11 made America launch its war on terror. Osama Bin Laden and his Al-Qaeda were the top targets. So too were the states which supported terrorism. Sudan was one of them. Nearly 20 years later, America is easing up on Sudan. Mike Pompeo has become the first US Secretary of State to visit Khartoum in 15 years. So why is America all of a sudden seeking deeper ties with Sudan? There are three reasons. Reason number one, democracy. The pretext under which America usually interferes in countries. America likes to project itself as the promoter of democracy. Sudan fits the bill. Its Islamic dictator Omar al-Bashir was ousted last year. Now civilians and military leaders have a power-sharing agreement. In 2022, Sudan will hold its first democratic elections in nearly 3 decades. The next 2 years will decide how Sudan will shape up. China and Russia may step in and encourage authoritarian rule. But if America moves first, Sudan can give an opening in an already fragile neighborhood. Reason number two, sanctions. For Sudan's democracy to succeed, it needs a strong economy. But Sudan has lived under US sanctions for nearly 3 decades. These sanctions were imposed to stop Bashir from supporting terrorists like Osama Bin Laden. Sudan remains on America's list of states that sponsor terrorism, so it cannot turn to international lenders. To remove Sudan from the list, the US is asking for a compensation worth $300 million. This is for American victims of Al-Qaeda attacks on 2 US embassies in Africa. Sudan had earlier agreed to compensate families of the USS school bombing. But the latest request has angered the cash-strapped Sudanese government. The Trump administration finds itself in a fix, as this compensation matter is a legal issue. Reason number three, West Asia. Mike Pompeo is jet-setting in the Arab world. From Israel, he came to Sudan and proceeded to Bahrain, Libya and Oman. His intention is to urge Arab states to become friends with Israel like the United Arab Emirates. America thinks such alliances will rattle Iran and bring stability to the Middle East. But Israel is a sensitive issue in Sudan. Under Bashir, Sudan was among the hardline Muslim foes of Israel. The hate for Israel is still strong among the masses. The trouble in the region doesn't end here. Sudan is in conflict with Ethiopia and Egypt over the River Nile. America's attempt to mediate has failed. America has played a part in handicapping Sudan. Now it wants to rectify the wrongs of the past. But diplomacy involves give and take. In this case, the US will have to give up more to reap dividends from a free and stable Sudan. Bureau Report, WION World is One.